What's up, guys? Welcome to the Amazon Savages podcast. Today, I'm joined with Fast Track FBA Taylor Jones. Taylor Jones is my co-host. He's on 1.8 million in the last 12 months. And Fast Track is a 7-figure seller with 25 VAs. We had steaks in Mexico City, and that was a great time. I ate 4 steaks. I ate one steak that was for 4 people, and it cost me $150. I didn't believe Fast Track when he sent me the Venmo request for $200 because there was other stuff included too. I'm like, holy shit, dude, we're in Mexico. We should be saving money. But bottom line, this guy travels the world. Huge inspiration to a lot of the community. He sells on UK.com. Actually, he stopped selling on UK. I forgot about that. But he has sold on UK. And yeah. Welcome to the Amazon Savages.
Welcome to the Amazon Savages podcast. Hear the stories of Amazon sellers crushing it in the game and keep up with the latest strategies that are working. Sit back, relax, and remember, if you truly try and work really hard, you will make a ridiculous amount of money selling on Amazon.
What's up, brother?
I love it. That intro never ceases to just absolutely fire me up.
Oh, yeah. Paid $500 for that.
Worth every dollar of it.
So, Tom, you still in Mexico City?
I've just got back. My sister invited me to go to Cape Town next month, and I was like, "Please, no, I do not want to travel. I've just had a month away, so
wow.
I'm pretty happy." Yeah,
that's nice. Mexico City is such a great city.
It's beautiful, but unfortunately, cost of living has gone up, as you know, Roma, because the steaks are now really expensive.
Wow.
Yeah,
cost of living's gone up everywhere.
Where you live in Mexico, of course, it's expensive. You live in like the most expensive part of Mexico,
and the peso's gone up versus the dollar 30% in the last year and a half. So that's why everything's really just now like whoa. So it happens.
Yeah. And Sweeney's back too. I had him on my podcast not too long ago.
Yeah, we spent. So to give you a context. We spent basically. I'm always in the Philippines to meet my team in January, and he was like, "I want to go to Thailand for December." And I was like, "Well, look, I'll come to Thailand." So we did 10 days together in Koh Samui. Then we did 10 days in Bangkok for Christmas and New Year's, which was really cool. And then we did 10 days in Manila, Philippines. And we were supposed to go to Boracay, but Gavin Sweeney was just so worn out from traveling, and I was like, "Okay, we'll chill." And then we went to Davao and did my actual planning meeting, which was 4 days. So I did that on my team. Then we went back to Manila and then eventually flew the 36 hours, 3 long-haul flights back to back from Manila back to Mexico City. Trust me, even business class is nice, but you just have enough of flying. So it's like, I'm done.
Yeah. And you're a single man, too. Being a single man in Mexico City is dangerous. If your skin tone is on the lighter side.
So politically correct. I absolutely love it. You could go down to Colombia, exactly the same thing. But obviously, you'd be a bit more careful down there.
No, I would not say it's exactly the same thing. Mexico City, man, there's something special about it. Like it feels like you're in New York with Latin people, which are more fun. Latin people are factually more fun than white people. And I was just down there salsa dancing like almost every night. Colombia people like salsa music more, though. I will say that. But you definitely feel like you're about to get like you definitely feel like shit could pop off in Colombia. Like you definitely feel like, oh, I should protect myself right now.
Well, the United States, I don't know if it was the Department of I don't know what agency, but they released a travel advisory for tourists in Colombia using dating apps because a lot of this is becoming a new theme, especially in Colombia. They're using like the Tinder to like lure in the tourists, and more people are going missing. So,
man, I wish a girl would try me.
No, they use the girl, and then they have guys that are like,
dude, I know all about this.
Normal.
Scopolamine. If you guys are interested in learning about this, type in scopolamine Colombia. I actually like legit had like a phobia. Every date I went on with a Colombian girl in Cali. Now, granted, Cali is there's less organized crime. Where Medellin is where they kind of are savvy because so many tourists are going to Medellin. Cali, Colombia, it's more dangerous in the sense that there's more crime committed amongst the Colombians, but Medellin's more dangerous for the travelers because there's more of them. Anyway, what they'll do is they'll literally put drugs on their body. So when you go and lick it off, you will lose your willpower, allegedly.
What does Roma get up to in his spare time?
They'll drain your Bitcoin account. They'll get like apparently you just lose your willpower and you give them your ATM card. You give them everything. I don't know.
She's just hot, so hot.
I think there's some soft guys out there that have no willpower and they get caught.
Exactly.
Anyway, enough of the tangent. Welcome to the podcast, brother. If you want to give us a brief background of how you got started, why you got started, and how you got up to the point where you have 25 people working for you.
Oh my God, 25 is like nothing. Okay, so let's give you the very abridged short version. My name is Thomas Parkinson. I run Fast Track FBA. I'm from England, as you can probably guess, and I have been doing business, should we say, Amazon related for probably like 7 years now. I started Amazon USA, and we built that over the last period. Our peak, we shut it down about a year ago now, or just under a year ago. Our peak, we were doing nearly $4 million in a year. And we had a big team running that. We were spending $100,000 a week of my money and credit cards, all VAs, everything. So absolutely incredible. I've also, as well, I started selling on Amazon USA about 3 years ago. And again, we do about 1.5 now. Small team, just 5 of them, 1 purchaser, 3 sources, 1 admin VA, pretty much hands off, 4 hours a week. I'm really happy with that. And we've been running it for 3 years. And then my other company I started about 4 or 5 years ago now. It's Fast Track FBA, the one that everyone will probably know. And we do services like VAs, lead services, education courses, YouTube. And in that company, that's where the majority of my VAs are, so probably like 25. But if you want to know, this time last year, when I just came back from Manila, we actually had 88 VAs across all 3 companies.
Wow.
Incredible. We were scaling so fast. And because we shut down the UK side and we did some other stuff, we scaled the business down dramatically. And I learned a lot on the journey. I really, really did. But I also travel the world. I love to travel. I've lived in Vietnam 2 years, Thailand for 6 months, Lithuania, Gran Canaria, Cancun, 3 years in Mexico City right now. I've been out of the UK for 7 years. So, and I'm always traveling. Like I'm always out about. And obviously I'm looking forward to coming to Miami Sellers Conference in March, obviously to see you guys network and also to give a talk as well. So #excited.
Heck yeah. What was your favorite part about last year?
Okay, so you could talk about specifically there, and then you can talk about afterwards. So I think specifically there, just networking with other sellers, I think is incredible, and I still agree with that afterwards. I think the important thing is you don't know what you don't know, and when you just stand around having a conversation with someone and you just start asking questions, you start picking up on stuff which is like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden they start sharing with you. And if I give you a really good example, and by the way, I went off and did 3 more interviews with Dan 1000 ASINs, so a big wholesaler. I started chatting to him. I think, Romy, you introduced me at the bar. And he's just
speaking again.
Yeah, and he talked about how he was working with, he shared a warehouse with 3 other sellers. He worked together to do group buying. He opened up distributors that way. And also I saw his growth chart. I was like, that's incredible. But I was like, I didn't even know you could do this. And then I asked him more, and then I interviewed him, and like one of his videos, the most recent one, got 11,000 views on my YouTube channel, which has like blown me away. And just the knowledge he drops around like how you network with other sellers and how you scale wholesale, working collaboratively with other sellers, and what he did, I absolutely love. And then the thing about it is not only that, it's the fact that you've now built the relationship. You can drop him a DM, ask him specific questions, and he will just come back to you. And you're like, you know, my God, if someone wants to pay an hour for my time, it's $600. But like, and I'm sure Dan's the same, but like, I could just drop him a DM now and save $600. That alone is like a game changer. Yeah. So absolutely love it.
Yeah.
100%. Dan's a good guy.
Business is an art, man. And there's so many ways to freaking make money on Amazon. And when you get to rub shoulders with people that are doing like huge numbers, it's unbelievable.
I'll say one thing which is really interesting. Romer, I think I interviewed you before Miami Sellers Conference last year, and that interview I asked you one question: who would you follow, or who do you follow? And you mentioned Naval, and I started following him after your recommendation, and I will not lie, his teachings have changed the way I think about everything. And if I'll say one specific thing, or one specific thing that Naval says, he says, the only things which matter are what you do, who you do it with, and how you do it. And I'm always thinking of that question, and it's the who you do it with.
Yeah.
And then what I'm realizing in my journey of selling on Amazon is like, there are so many people out there who are just talking, but like, as you start networking more, you just meet those serious sellers. And, you know, I have them in my community whereby it's just so easy to do business with them. They just like, we'll share deals, we'll talk about each other, we'll share all the insights. And you can't get that in a community. It's like very close knit relationships, like 1 to 5 people. And those things are where you really excel. And, when I see it like, I think Charlie Munger passed away recently, unfortunately. But you see Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger together, and you're like, they're just a close knit community. And like people who are excelling just network together. And again, it's who you do it with, which is so important.
Yeah.
So absolutely love that. And thank you, Roma. Changed my life.
He talks about is you want to get really good at building, and you want to get really good at selling. And so back to the who, not how, there's a whole book written on that. You can just read the fucking title and get the premise of the book. Who, not how, focus on who can help you accomplish it. With GoToLister, I partnered with an Amazon seller who had an obsession with coding Amazon apps. Was he coding a listing software? No, he was coding a different software, but we partnered. He couldn't market worth shit, so he got 0 users for his software, but he's very talented. And he is now the who when it comes to building, and I'm the who for him when it comes to selling. And we came together on this, and it's just like, it's amazing that he is just going to naturally do what he wants to do, and I'm going to naturally do what I want to do, and we can build this thing together, And
again, you come back to the Naval quote, which is, do what is play to you, but looks like work to others.
I was just about to say that. And it's like, we make jokes all the time. He's like, I've been working all day, blah, blah, blah. But he loves his work, but he just fucks around. He's like, I've actually been working. He's like, you've been shooting podcasts. And I'm like, I'm doing the real work out here, buddy.
I love it. No, well done.
So that's great. But so anything changed, Tom, in your business strategically, like the way that you're buying, or maybe the way that your teams are set up since we've last talked at Miami?
Yeah. So let's put it this way. In February last year, wasn't it, that we did Miami?
Yeah.
So we were going through the position whereby the UK business was getting to a point whereby we'd got the financial year end for the year before, and we're watching the year-on-year decline in margin, and we're looking at the landscape within the UK, and we're looking at the US margin versus the UK margin, the business model we're operating, and we're like, this isn't viable. And hence, obviously, 3 months later, I think I shut the business down, which we let a lot of staff go, which is a real shame. But I think as a business, if you understand, all businesses eventually fail eventually. And I was like, at that time, it really affected me. But I think now looking back on it, I'm really grateful for that experience. Yeah. But it was horrible at the time. I hate letting staff go. But what did I learn from that situation? And by the way, if I put it in perspective, the year before, we were scaling so fast. I think we had 60 staff at one time, and we were adding 10 staff a month. Every month we were adding 10% extra headcount on. So it was incredible. Are you having a cigar?
Hold on. In his apartment.
Is it Airbnb?
Yeah, no, this is an apartment. This furniture is rented, so it's their responsibility to make it smoke proof. I was thinking about it, why would you run a furniture company if your furniture is not smoke proof? And I'm about to move out of here.
Isn't it fireproof, not smoke proof?
This is the Amazon Savages podcast, not the Amazon podcast.
You know what? So the Airbnb we were in right now, it doesn't have AC, and Diana was pissed off last night because she couldn't sleep. So she actually went and she's like, I'm going to the Selena. So I'm here now. And she hates it when I smoke cigars. But now I'm by myself. I might go get some cigars tonight, Avery, and we can have a cigar together.
You got to let those nuts hang, son.
My God.
So,
Taylor missed the last podcast because he's like, I gotta go do laundry for my girlfriend.
No. I didn't do laundry. I had to go drop her off at the Selena. I actually didn't get the laundry yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
You should have bought a freaking donkey and sent her out.
We're actually, I think there is a laundry machine here, but we're in Costa Rica right now. So we're traveling, and it's just, no, we don't. But anyways, to go back to your train of thought there, Tom, I thank you for sharing about your downsizing. And I think, especially as a business owner, I've had 2 failures. I mean, in the 5 years that I've been in business, my Airbnb business that I launched last year did not make me money. And also I did an automation program that really was not that as successful as I expected it to be. And I think that as business owners, we can take it, it definitely takes a hit on our ego and our pride. We want to be successful. We want to win. We want to be an inspiration to our friends and our community. And when things don't go as expected, it fucking sucks. But there also is, like you said, a huge lesson that on the other side of that, now we are a more equipped, business owner. Like,
dude, Tom caught me at my lowest moment, like when I was in Mexico, right after we left Costa Rica, and my Amazon account was shut down for like the 6th time. He caught me in that moment, and I went on his channel and he interviewed me.
I got the camera then.
Smelled the blood.
Yeah. But dude, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I mean, you got to take the risks, because like you're only gonna learn from it, and you're only, so.
I think there's like some really good frames of reference. By the way, as Amazon sellers, we've all bought a product that has at some point failed, and we probably made a loss on. So technically, you have failed multiple times. It's just the size of the failing. Whether it be a product or an entire business. The other one, like, and again, it's like we've all failed at something at some point. And the one thing I kind of, when I reflected back on that journey, was there's like a couple of things I really thought about. Number one, I had to picture something in my mind. I was like, when I turn 50, and I'm 37 now, so obviously I'm a little bit older, but like, I kind of use it.
You look a day over 29.
Thank you very much. The filters are really good. But when I so put a time frame in the future, and 20 years from now, will I feel like the way I feel right now? And the answer you just know is no. So what you realize is that
what's funny is Gary Vee says that. Gary Vee's like, 15 years on the road, he's like, you're gonna feel exactly the fucking same. You're gonna feel exactly the fucking same. 75 years old, you're gonna feel good.
But it's really interesting. So like you realize that this is just a temporary emotion, and then what the other one is the fact that there's a saying: success is the poor teacher. I.e., if you have a plan and it works, you have learned nothing, because what you thought would happen happened. And if something fails, then it realizes that you have learned something. And what's interesting is like your expectation of the world is not what the world is, and so therefore you must change. And for that, I am grateful, because now I learn the journeys that I need to go through. And it's interesting, I learned like on that journey, again, this comes back to who you know, because they've already failed multiple times. You ask the questions. For example, today, if I give a very specific example, we do a cash flow sheet, so how we manage cash flow within Amazon, and we do it every Monday. I've done it for years. It works brilliant. Like, Tom, how do we change the cash flow sheet from cash out every Monday to every day? I said, I would not feel comfortable doing it. One, because you're increasing the likelihood of error. And then two, if you make mistakes, especially with cash flow, you could bankrupt yourself. And I said, the goal is not to get rich overnight. The goal is to stay in the game and get rich once, and then you are done. And it was really interesting because I used my learning from trying to scale with, we had like $1 million worth of loans at one point, trying to grow so fast that I was like, I should have said, Tom, calm down. You do not need to do this accelerated growth so quickly. Stay in the game. And what I did is I just grew so fast, didn't have enough processes and systems and people, wanted to maximize the opportunity, but didn't really think about the risks. And now I've learned a lot more about listening to other people, their journeys, and learning from their mistakes. And I think Alex Hormozy talked about it, is like smart people learn from the mistakes, and they're like wise people learn from the mistakes of others. And it either is like brilliant. And I'm like, how can I learn from other people's mistakes? And for me, that's a really important part and a reflection on that journey, and just making sure that I'm constantly changing so that my business gets better. And again, I don't make the same mistakes. But at the end of the day, also as well, not trying to scale so fast and aggressively. Enjoy the journey. Have less stress. Like, go dancing in Mexico and meet some nice girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have a cigar.
No, I think that's a really good point, Tom. Like December, or halfway through December into halfway through January, like I just placed my first order for January, like not too long ago. I took like 25 days to just pull money out, pay off some debts. And I hadn't done that in a while. It was just like spend. And I think there's an art to how fast you want to scale. It's like you don't want to expose yourself to so much risk where if one thing went wrong, you're screwed, So
I did a Tony Robbins Business Mastery. So I was really lucky because I got to be in the audience with Tony Robbins. There's like 500 people there. There are like 10,000 on the screens and 500 in the audience. And he had a guy called Keith Cunningham, the only guy who kept coming back for 10 years. Tony never brings anyone back more than once to speak, and he's done 10 years. And Keith Cunningham, he was like, as entrepreneurs, you're so focused on maximizing the opportunity when really you should be focused on minimizing the risk. And I really it was only going through that journey that I learned that I was about how can I make more money? How can I make more money? How can I make more money? And that was my pure goal. I was never thinking about if this goes wrong, how will it go wrong and how can I reduce the chances of it? And again, it made me think about Warren Buffett's, rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, remember rule number 1. And it was like, just play games where you're like, yeah, this is easy. Like, I'll win that. Not like, oh my God, we can make a bit more if we do this. Like, that sounds complicated. I'm not going to bother. Because if it sounds complicated, it will be way more than you think it will be.
Yeah. Have you learned that? Avery, I'm guessing you've probably learned that similar lesson super hard, like last year with your shutdowns. Like, what have you taken away from that?
I feel like I was a scapegoat for the community or the martyr or whatever it's called. I definitely learned a lot, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like everything your grandma said is true. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. Like all this shit is true, but I think Tom's dropping some good knowledge bombs where it's like, don't ever get to the point where you'll get absolutely buried. And I actually got very, very close to getting buried last summer. I was actually recovering from account shutdowns I never shared publicly on social media from my business, restrictedinventory.com.
Grind hard, well done, sir.
Basically accidentally sold counterfeits, and then all my accounts got linked together, and then my wholesale business got shut down, and I had no income. And that's a very scary place to be, especially like when you have debt and stuff like that. And I definitely just learned, be careful. And I will never do it again where I put so much money in my Amazon business. But yeah, I mean, just the basic principles of don't put your eggs in one basket, I think is very, very true. And also just don't stop. When you're in a negative state of mind, you think it's going to last forever. There's something about a negative state of mind that feels permanent, whereas a joyful state of mind doesn't. I heard somebody say this. I wasn't sure. I can't remember who said it. Maybe like Eckhart Tolle or someone. But when you're in a negative state of mind, it feels like eternity. It feels like you're never going to get out. But when you're in a positive state, for some reason, you're like when you're feeling really good from like an alcohol buzz or maybe just like good friends around you, you're not going to feel that way forever. But when you're in a negative state, you actually feel like you're going to feel that way forever. It's like it's in realizing that you're not going to feel that way forever and consciously holding that helps you get through that negative state. But when you're in a negative state, it feels like this is forever, and so bringing conscious awareness to that helps for sure.
Yeah. I think, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, like, number one, it's biological because we as human beings have to protect ourselves from predators. So staying in a negative state protects you, makes you live. But if I give some practical tips for me during that dark times, number one, like, understand that in 50 years time, it ain't going to matter. You're going to look back and be like, that was shit, but I'm still alive. Number two, what I found really changed the game for me. Wake up in the morning, do not look at social media at all because you're comparing everyone else's high to you. I literally put podcasts on or like motivational YouTube, talks, Will Smith, like, yeah, I'm like, you got this. And I'm like, cool. And by the way, I needed that for the first 30 minutes of my day. And all I remember was like, I just need to do one step after, one step. It's like running a marathon. Okay, just do this one thing. Let's do this one thing. Like, it will eventually come out, but I just have to do this one thing. Because the moment, and I think the final thing I'll say is, Tony Robbins says it, stay in your head and you're dead. If I stayed in my head, oh my God, I was a disaster. But if I put music on, if I put motivational stuff, I got out of my head and I was like, I could survive. The moment I took it out and I was on my own, no, horrible place. Go on, Taylor.
Yeah. It's, I like to see it as like during my morning walk is like my meditation where I'll take that time and get into my body, feel the gratitude, and I'll actually mentally accept the worst possible thing that could happen to my business. Like, I'll actually like, oh, like my account could get shut down today. I'll be like, and then I'll like accept that in my body. And like that, I feel like has primed me emotionally to where like I have a healthy respect of like risk and fear, but I don't let it run my day-to-day operation, And I think emotions are such a real part of business, like I feel like there's two things. There's like the sadness of a business failing is also the fear of it, like you're not making it out. And both of those need to be dealt with differently.
I think it's the thing Naval said, or I don't know if it's Naval, but it's kind of like, what advice would you give yourself 10 years in the future? And I think he said it in one of his interviews. He was like, the one thing I would just ask myself is just be less emotional.
Yeah.
And what I realized is that when I'm like, I talked to my ops manager the other day, I try and be really calm and collected when I'm talking to my team. And then number 2 is when I feel my emotions changing, I will just stop and be quiet for like 10 seconds on the call, not say anything, because I realize that any decision I make or any conversation I have in an emotion state is probably not going to be the best one. So if I can just be nice and calm, I will make good decisions and my life will be better. Like, that's what I want. And again, about worries, don't be so emotional. Calm down.
Don't worry. Be happy.
Have you not got a cutscene, Roma? What's going on?
Cutscene. He is a cutscene.
Well, Tom, what are you most excited, having already been to the Miami Sellers Conference, what are you most excited for this year?
Well, I get to meet you two, so super, super happy about that. So, okay, so let's put it this way. Number 1 is the Miami Sellers Conference this year. I get to talk, so I'm excited for that, but if not slightly nervous. But I think the most important part is I get to see Roma in his guns. I'm really excited about that, and Taylor in his guns as well. Wow, absolutely excited.
Hey, Russell off round 2 on the beach. Whoever wants it can get it. Me and Taylor are the first round. Actually, me and Taylor are opposite sides of the bracket this year because Taylor's ranked number 2. I'm ranked number 1 based on previous.
Bro, I got that number 1 seed. You know it.
Nah,
you're barely 130 pounds soaking wet.
We're having the seedings meeting on Friday before the event, so you can debate that. But currently, I'm number 1.
Oh my God.
And it's 2 days this year, isn't it?
2 days, yeah. Technically 3, because Friday night's basically a day.
Yeah, and just run me through like what's the structure of the 2/3 days.
So Friday night networking at a private venue, or we're trying to. There's gonna be networking Friday regardless, but we're gonna try to get it at the private venue. I don't know if that's officially secured yet. Have we talked about that, Taylor?
The Friday night networking has not been planned. No.
Okay, cool. So we're still working on that. Saturday morning we kick it off, speakers till about 2 p.m. Then we're gonna do some cool networking. Taylor's going to be leading a meditation at some point from 9 to 2. So that'll be really awesome. And then we'll be doing like panel style tables where everyone just goes around and networks with their favorite Amazon sellers. So we're going to have Watch Me Amazon, Amazon Lit, Flips for Miles, Warner, me, Taylor, Fast Track. We have a book seller doing 800,000 a month. We got Dave Can Read, who's been selling for 15 years, does a few million a year in used books. We got Joji doing 100K profit each year, flipping textbooks. Kind of like Seth Baker does, online arbitrage. And so it's going to be a really good crowd. Day 2 is more basically day 1 again. And we're going to be doing more of the same with other speakers. And then we're going to go Saturday night is a private after party. All the speakers will be there. That's where a lot of networking will happen. If you guys drink, that's where we'll be drinking alcohol. And then the yacht on Sunday is going to be amazing. So Sunday night, we'll actually take off from the venue in a yacht and go around Miami Bay. So that's a schedule.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it. I think so if we talk about last year and like, again, it's about networking with people, about specifically asking questions around their business models and the way they work. I think one of the things that I've found most valuable is understanding what your business model is and understanding how you think your business should work and how you scale it, and then having those conversations with other people and then them telling you what you don't realize you don't know. For example, like I said, hey, in my business, I always notice we just struggle to manage more than 200 ASINs. So as a result, like that's my kind of constraint. And they're like, well, you're just being stupid because you can handle a lot more. And I was like, oh yeah, I can. And then as a result, that changed everything. Even little tips about how you deal with suppliers, conversations around them. And I think it's really, really important to have those, like, what do you think is your business right now? What are the limiting beliefs? What are the limiting problems? And then go and have this conversation with people who are ahead of you. And again, Naval, it's what you do, who you do it with, and how you do it. It's the most important things. And again, finding those people. So I'm super excited. And hey, I actually found even the boat trip was great fun last year. Absolutely love that. And even the drinks on the Friday night, the networking, just meet random people. And you've got this, it's definitely an all-star lineup this year. I will not lie. Like, best lineup ever. Yeah. Taylor Jones's eyebrows.
Taylor, what are you going to be talking about? Have you thought about it?
I have no idea, honestly. I feel like
we got to start practicing our talks. Remember, we can't forget that intention.
Yeah. One of the things that I've definitely thought about it. I have a couple different things I'd like to share. one of the things I think is a really good potentially a topic maybe I will speak about. I've thought about this, but like also not only just speaking to the right people in terms of like figuring out the things that you don't know, like Tom said, and what you need to do to scale your business to the next level, but also with that, considering who you're talking to and how you want your Amazon business to support your lifestyle, So like, if you know that you want to why do you want to make more money on Amazon? Is it because you want to just take care of your family and you love the city you live in? Great. Maybe getting a warehouse and you love managing people. Maybe getting a warehouse is the perfect thing to do, but maybe you suck at managing people and you want to travel, and like really considering all of those different things as you're looking to scale, because I feel like a lot of people get to the point where like, oh, well, if I want to scale to 7 figures, I need a warehouse or I need this. And it's like, they put very little thought into like, not just planning their business, but also planning their life and how they want to spend their every day, So I think maybe I'll talk about that, but
That's
I think that's
unacceptable.
What's that?
That's unacceptable.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck. I think that's a really good thing though, because like I think your Amazon business should serve your life. Like we don't get into business. Like you're not going to get to the end of your life and get a huge trophy and then like go to the gates of heaven and like God's going to like be like, you did such a good little Amazon seller. Like, no, like we get into business like at least I think most of us get into business because we want more freedom in one area of our life. We want to get our time back. We want to be able to manage our own selves and our own time. We want to be able to make more money and take more vacations, like whatever it is. I think it's really good to start with that and then work backwards and build around that,
I agree. I think like we get so caught up in social media and like, wow, this guy's doing this. No one asks, why does it matter? Like, yeah, that's the big problem. And by the way, like, Roman mentioned it earlier on, like, this time last year, he was, I caught him at death's door, the horrible time. Like myself, I wasn't in a great place as well. And what was interesting is when I reflected back on that, what I realized is a lot of decisions I actually made were based because on other people's decisions or my interpretation of those decisions. And it wasn't the right decision for me. And since then, I've been like, I need to be mindful of what I expose myself to, because if I'm watching people like, yeah, they got a warehouse and they're doing this and that and the other, like, then that's what I will naturally want to do, whether it serves me or not. And I think for you, like, it's really important, like, where do you want to go? Do you want to live in Costa Rica? Do you want a nice quality of life? Do you want to work Amazon a couple of days a week? Or maybe a warehouse ain't a great option. So I think, yeah, really good speech.
Yeah. So, and I think it's hard too, because as we're part of a community and like we go to events like this, like we naturally like for example, like Trevin, I just went to Trevin had a private Trevin Peterson. Did you meet Trevin, Tom?
No, but I know who you mean.
He's a private label seller. I think
he wasn't there last year. That's why.
Is he coming this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me that. What are you talking about? We were supposed to interview Trevin today.
He's a really sharp guy, really sharp, freaking hyper successful. He's got, several different brands. And he's got software, like they're doing product reviewing now. Like they're on their front edge, leading edge. It's good. And I went to his private event. He had about 12 people out to his house for a weekend a couple months ago. And like, he did a presentation on like making content. And like, he's like, Taylor, you got to read this book. And I was like, yeah, I need to read Crushing It. Like, yeah. And then like, I'm like, after about a month, I was like, I don't actually fucking want to make content right now, and like, and then I had a conversation with Tim Soros about it too. He was kind of feeling the same way. And it's like, it's so important that we check in with ourselves about like what we actually want and like not build our own perception of success based on other people.
I agree. Completely agree. I've had that conversation with Soros many times. Many times.
So What do you think about that, Avery? Huh?
I think as competitive men, you're always going to have an enemy in your head. And so my enemy jumps from the competition, other micro influencers around my size or bigger. My competition fluctuates to my best friend who I do wrestling with. And like, sometimes I just want to beat his ass. Like literally, like I would take notes during the day of how I'm going to beat him later. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this and this and this. And when I do jiu-jitsu, for some reason in jiu-jitsu, I get the most aggressive because I think wrestling takes so much energy that you like expend it. Whereas in jiu-jitsu, you don't use as much energy. So you have more energy to be aggressive. And then when I do jujitsu, I'm literally thinking like, how am I going to smash so-and-so today? And then sometimes it's so much. I don't know if you guys are this competitive, but I'm like, holy shit, this is taken away from like my productivity. Like I'm thinking too much about wrestling this person or jiu-jitsu or another micro influencer. I'm like, they posted 3 reels today. I need to post 3 reels. Or they got a YouTube video. They got this many views. I need to do that. And I think when it comes to the micro influencer thing, what you need to do, what I need to do at least, what worked for me is shift the enemy from the competition, which I actually think is extremely healthy. And it can be productive, but it can be counterproductive at a point. Shift the enemy from them to the matrix as a whole. And so instead of taking, your energy out on beating them, your energy becomes on beating the matrix system that keeps people working 9-to-5 jobs, working low wage jobs or middle-class jobs. And I take it as my responsibility as unlocking that part in people's brains that they can actually achieve financial freedom. And if I have one video, one reel, one YouTube video that accomplishes that, or Miami Sellers Conference, and they come and they break free in what I call the matrix of thinking you have to work a traditional job, that's the enemy for me. And for me, that's honorable. And I never get burned out when I think of that. I get burned out when I compare myself to other people because you're never going to be able to beat anyone. Like there's savages out there that are much more talented at creating content than me objectively. And they're just working way more than me. They are working 10 hours a day, and I will never be able to beat those people, but they will never be able to beat me because I am a salsa dancer, jiu-jitsu, wrestler who sells on Amazon, and there's no one out there that does all those things as good as me. There's some people that can do 2 of those things maybe better than me, but not. I guarantee you there's not all 4. And if you think you can beat me in those things, meet me on the beach at Miami Sellers Conference, baby.
And you're really cute, and you smoke cigars.
Damn right. It's like nobody's going to beat you at being you. And Naval talked about this. So I have a personal brand. Like if I tried to beat Fast Track at being Fast Track, I would get burned out. If I'm like, I'm going to go to Mexico, I'm going to get a little Mexican girlfriend, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Like I just couldn't keep up and nobody could keep up with me. Like if you lived a day in my life, most of the influencers out there would not be able to keep up with my day because what I do is I create content the first half of the day. Then I go to wrestling practice, wrestle my ass off. And then I go salsa dancing for like 3 hours. If people did that, they would just be fucking exhausted, like but for me, it feels like play. For them, it feels like work. So,
I can dance a bit, but 3 hours, I'd be like, oh my God, I want to go home. I'm dying like every day. And you've done wrestling before that. Wow. But I really agree with you. Like you're talking about the Scott Adams, the deal book creator, where he talks about his 3 top 25 percentiles, combining them. But what's really interesting, you talked about like being yourself, productizing yourself, but you talked about it where it's like, I watch other people create YouTube content and I want to do more of it. And I want to compete them. So you are very competitive, but I would kind of ask like, why? Why do you want to do that? And interesting enough, Naval talks about it with these, I've forgotten his name, Sadiq Gupta. Is like, it's all about you. It's all about you. This is all a single player game. And it's like really interesting to understand, why do I want to beat this guy in thing? What does it mean? Because if you're just a monk, you won't care about creating social media content. And it's really interesting. It's all in here. So I'd figure out that.
Yeah. And that answer is different for different people, Yeah. And I would say, Avery, I think you are hyper competitive because I personally, I never compare myself to people, but I feel like you're just freaking next level. Like you want to.
I think a lot of men are like this. I really do. I think
so?
I would talk to some of the speakers in Miami and see if they're. I think so though. Like I think low key men are really competitive. Some of the women that come to our events are probably extremely competitive too. Not necessarily a bad thing though. It's in our nature. It can become unhealthy though, especially like who are you going to compete against? And I think competing against the matrix as a whole, if you can kind of hold that in your head, then that becomes the enemy, and then all the micro influencers become your friends because now you're all fighting a war against something bad.
To me, I like to almost compete with like the old version of myself, and
that's true too.
Or like what I think about is like I want to constantly be adding more freedom and more desires that I'm manifesting in my life, right? So it's like, what do I want that I don't have right now? And that might be more money, that might be more free time.
Do you not know the Buddhist saying, desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you have what you want?
Yeah.
So if you want to be happy, desire for less. Ideally, desire for like nothing. And then you'll be happy.
But then there's also Tony Robbins talks about growth is the key component to happiness. And so that's kind of paradoxical. I know what you're saying. Like you're basically. Do you guys know the kid? What's his name? Sam Solik on YouTube.
Yeah.
He's fucking, his body is insane.
I started drinking electrolytes every morning because of him.
Yeah. He's just a super big guy, like way bigger than Hormozy, and all he talks about is lifting. But he was talking about how he hates it when people share their goals on social media, because he's like, you're basically distancing yourself from your goal. You're saying, I am not this yet.
Yeah.
And you're stating to the world, I am not this yet. I am not happy, and I am not this yet. But at the same time, I've always held the kind of idea that I'm going to document everything I do, and I'm going to state where I want to go, even though I look like I suck. Like, I'm sure so many people look at GoToLister back in the early days and they're like, this kid's never going to make it work. Well, look at me now, bitches. Like, we're making it work. And I'm sure people watch me salsa dancing. I've actually been told this before. Like, I can't believe you posted that video. Like, you sucked. And I'm like, yeah, well, that was a point. I posted that back then because I knew that I was going to get better. And now I can actually compare it, because I'm not organized enough to have like a video from 4 years ago on my phone. I'm going to delete it. But if I post it on social media, everyone will see it. And then 4 years later, I can look back and see how much better I've gotten. And it's the same with Amazon. It's the same with everything. And so,
Tom, how do you set goals, Tom? Like, what, like, do you every year, do you kind of look at your life and like, these are the health goals, fitness goals, life goals? Like, do you have a process where you kind of evaluate and say
a process for making a contract to be unhappy with yourself?
Hey, it's a really good question. When I was 24, I started asking myself the question, if money was no object, like, I'm not saying you're super rich, but like, you had, I called it $3,000 in the UK. That's a lot of money. In the US, you're like, oh my God, but that's 24. It's like, if you had $3,000 every month guaranteed to come in, no matter what you did, you didn't have to get out of bed, what would you do? Would you become a painter on the south coast of France, for example? And it made me ask the question of myself, what do I really want to do? And I kind of came to three things I like doing, which kind of inspired me to do the work I'm doing now. Number one, I want to meet cool and exciting people who are doing things I didn't even know were possible. For example, making money online, traveling the world. I was like, damn. Number two, I want to have a go at doing it myself and living that life. And then number three, I want to share and document the journey, which is hence Fast Track FBA and doing that. And for me, like, it isn't so much about a destination, it's about a journey. And a journey is just like, how do I want to live my life every day? And it's like, I want to meet people who inspire me. I want to go through the challenge of learning about it, and then I want to help other people. And I think that's really cool. But I help other people with no expectation that they're going to listen. But if I can help, fantastic. I'm really happy with that. And I've tried to stay true to that. And sometimes it gets really difficult when, like, our businesses get so big and we get caught up, or we get the real negativity. But again, when we talk about, like, Roma and I have been through what we've been through, is like, that's just part of the journey. Like, and you've got to go through the pain to be able to enjoy it, to be grateful for the, without suffering, there is no pain. And you've got to, like, enjoy that because you recognize it. So for me, that's been a really important part. And then, if we talk about processes, because I do love processes now, one thing I read from a friend of mine, every night, write answers to two questions. What did I do today that I really liked? Like, what was great about today? And then what would I like to do better? What would I have done better and how? And then every year, or you can do it every month, you just look through those two questions on the period and you go, what are the patterns of good days and what are the patterns of bad mistakes?
Oh, wow,
and then you're like, I'm just trying to optimize for that. That's it. So again, I really enjoy it. And like, my goals, specific goals change, but the way you live your life are really, like, I just want to have fun. That's it. And be happy and be peaceful. What about you?
I like that. Avery, you go.
Well, I've been doing a similar thing. I haven't been doing it recently, but I did a lot last year where I asked, did I make myself proud today? And I'll write the answer. And then what can I do tomorrow to make myself proud? But I think a better question for, like, religious people is, did I glorify God today? And if not, what did I do that did not glorify him? And what did I do that did glorify him? And what would he want me to do tomorrow? And it's actually really weird. For me personally, I get way different answers for both those questions. And the Bible says pride is not good. And so Andrew Tate always talks about make yourself proud, make God proud. But it's like, maybe pride isn't the end goal. Maybe pride is fleeting, or not fleeting, but what's the word for it? I want to say like benign or you know what I mean? Pride is not necessarily like the end goal. Like, I think glorifying God is like that kind of like is like, holy shit, like our creator, what would make him happy? And if you, because like, for example, this is a weird example, but I text and drive from time to time. And if I ask myself at the end of the day, if I ask myself, did that make me proud? I don't really give a shit personally. Like, did that kill anybody? No. But God knows that he probably protected me from a wreck or something, and it was potentially going to kill a family. And so God would not be happy with that behavior. So that's just an example of how God's a better decision maker than myself, you know? And so Alex Hormozi talks about, he's atheist. He talks about put it all on yourself. But I think putting it on a higher power is almost a little bit more powerful. Even if you're an atheist, I don't like to say this too much, but even if you're an atheist and I guess you would pretend God existed, then you're asking like a better judge than yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Alex obviously talks about like the 10-year-old future you.
Yeah.
So the future.
I think Hormozi has a lot of growing to do personally. Like I watch his content. I think he says a lot of stuff that he'll look back on. Like I think we'll see Hormozi grow and he'll have like gray hair and shit and like 15, 20 years down the road.
So will I?
We all will. And
Yeah.
I think he's so young, man. He's only 5 years older than me. Or I think he's like 33, right? I think he'll look back at a lot of the content he's making now and he'll be like, damn, I was doing it for the wrong reason. Maybe not. Who knows? But at least.
But massive respect for him for putting it out there. A lot of people are just scared, you know. And like as much like, and I say that like, you know, Roma, like you being on my show, talking about you closing your business down, like, you know, and you putting your salsa up, like it's tough. It's hard to put yourself out there and to be public about it. But it's because you're willing to do that, you grow and you learn. You can reflect back on it and be like, now I see what happened, and also as well, you're honest with yourself. That's the only thing you can ask for. You're honest.
Yeah.
Go on, Taylor.
What was I? What?
What is your?
Do you have a
life?
practice similar to either of those? Like how do you look for fulfillment in your life or growth?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I feel I definitely resonate like with that last thought. Like, yeah, we're always changing so much. Like I look back at like what I blew up on TikTok for in 2020. Like, just guys, you don't need to go to a 9 to 5. Like, you can make 10,000 a day. You know, just like, and I'm like, now I look at the world and I'm like, you know what? Some people actually might be better off in a job. You know, and like, I look at my own life, and I mean, what was the question? How do I find fulfillment?
Yeah, or like, do you have a practice similar to what I said was, I asked myself, did I glorify God? What did you say, Tom? You said you.
Your question was, what's your goal in life?
What are my goals? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like, okay, one of the things I feel really strongly, like even coming here to Costa Rica, like we were just like, we love to be here, but the first day was like terrible because like relatively speaking, our amenities completely changed. Like we went from like the comfort luxury of a heated apartment with, you know, a gym and all of this, and now we're here in the humidity and it's sticky, and it's like our happiness levels are constantly changing based on like everything's so relative. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, like I feel like how I set goals for the year, for the month, yeah, they're always changing, and I try to like make it an inner journey. Like, what do I need more of right now? You know, like I grinded the first 2-3 years of my business in RA and OA. And like, I knew the thing that I wanted was more time freedom. And now I have more time freedom. So I've reached that goal. And like, and now it's like, one of the things that I know I want is like more impact. And it's like, and also like spiritual inner growth to be a more loving human as within myself, you know? So like, what can I do in my everyday life to do that, you know, like, and I'm brainstorming and I guess doing that. But in terms of fulfillment, I feel like the thing that I do every single day, and when I feel like shit, I'm not doing it, is I'm just not going back to gratitude. And even when it's weird, like some days I'll feel just pissed off at shit, and I go for a walk and I'll just repeat to myself, I am so grateful for this. I am so grateful for this. And I'll just recount everything for like 20-30 minutes. And I feel fucking amazing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because the end of my point is this, because fulfillment is so relative that we're always comparing ourselves to where we were 10 minutes, 10 years, 10 months ago. If we can just remind ourselves to be grateful for everything that we have right now, like we can feel fulfilled in every moment. I think.
I will copy Naval here but I do I listened to it and I was like, I so believe in it. When I first started my journey, I wanted to be freedom to travel. And I did it. I left the UK and I started traveling the world. Absolutely loved it. I wanted an online business, freedom, fantastic. And then as you kind of had everything, 7-figure businesses, traveling the world, first class, all the, the double-digit teams and everything like that, and like YouTube channels. And then you're like, I've got everything. I'm not saying like it's all just nicer versions upgraded, and I'm not saying I'm amazing, but I was like, I didn't feel any more happier. And what I kind of realized, and Naval said it, and I was like, you're fucking right. Sorry, language. It's not freedom to, it's freedom from yourself, freedom from your worries, freedom from things, and actually that's not about getting nicer stuff. It's about being happy with what you have.
Yeah.
And again, you talk about gratitude, and I was like, damn, you're so right. I absolutely love it. Yeah. I just want to be peaceful. That's it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I resonate with that. And I think freedom from a lot of things, there's the freedom from worrying about money. Okay. So how can I set up my business and planning to I'm pulling cash out of my business to put in other things, right? So freedom from worry, right? Freedom from attachment, freedom from clinging. Am I clinging to my relationships? Freedom from there's freedom from a lot of things that we have to be careful of,
I'll bring it back to Amazon slightly. So I have a Tony Robbins coach, which I've had for the last 5 years, and I just started the 5th year. And we had the conversation about what do you want? What's your goals this year? And I was like, I want to build systems within my business whereby I know very predictably exactly what's going to happen at all levels, and I have that cash machine. And I think you talk about sorry, Roma, go on.
What need are you meeting?
Yeah, so that was interesting because I was like, I want to have freedom from money worries, because we talk about Amazon, and I was like, wow, I just want to know if I do this, it works. And I think Roma, we talked about it with you and your books and what you're doing, and we talk about wholesale and different models. And it's when I first started my Amazon business, my goal was I am not building a business to have a job, period. And as I've gone through this journey, I've got more and more out of the business, but I'm still part of it, should we say? And I do less and less and less. But the more I kind of learn about business, the more I learn about processes and systems, I'm like, I need these things, because these things allow me to step further and further away and have confidence the business runs to the standards it needs to happen, and isn't reliant upon any one amazing person. It's reliant on a machine which works to a very high standard. And therefore, my Amazon business just works. And therefore, I have money. And therefore, I'm free from my money worries. And I'm like, that is what I want. So, yeah.
I love that. Systems.
Heck yeah. Tony Robbins talks about four categories of needs to be met. One is the need for what? Certainty? Taylor knows this better than me.
It was certainty, uncertainty. Yeah, there's 6. Certainty, there's 4 physical needs and 2 spiritual. Certainty, uncertainty, love and connection, significance. Those are the 4 physical. And then I believe the 2 spiritual were what? Growth and contribution. Yeah. Tony Robbins, man, he had us freaking picking our noses and shit, dude. That guy's crazy.
Dude, I honestly think that nose picking thing really worked for me.
What was the nose picking thing?
So you put a finger in your nose and you say your top 3 limiting beliefs, and you say them in the stupidest way possible, and you go around to a bunch of people and do it. And if you actually play all out, then it's it
was honestly the most uncomfortable part of the weekend for me.
Yeah, it's super because you have to look at the person as you're doing it. So you have to be like, I don't think I have enough time. That was one of my limiting beliefs. I don't think I have enough time. Another limiting belief was I don't think there's enough people that would use GoToLister. Another thing was I don't think I'm enough. So those were the 3. And I actually consciously think those things. And so when I came back home, I would think them again. But immediately I would think of me saying it in front of someone and how ridiculous it was.
Yeah.
And then it would break the pattern. So it fucking worked.
It was so funny. So the first time he's like, okay, find someone. Now do it to each other. And he's like, so he's like, pick your nose and do it. And then he's like, now I want you to, we did it. I picked my nose and I said it. He's like, now do it 5 more times. Me and the girl both looked at each other and we're like, and we walked away. We're like, no.
It gets progressively worse the further back you get. So the cheaper people paid for their seats, the worse it got. But the closer you got to the front, the more all out people were playing.
What was it? What was it?
I am not enough.
What was the event?
There's unleashed power within.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah, that's good. It's still not cheap though. It's like $4,000, isn't it?
No, it was $500.
Yeah, we didn't pay that much for ours, but the front row ticket people probably paid like $1,500 to $2,000, and we went up there. We snuck into that section. I actually got caught for we thought we got caught for sneaking into the section. We got caught. I got some bodyguard came up to me and grabbed my shoulders. I thought it was Taylor, and I'm like, damn, Taylor's been like fucking working out or something. Turn around, this guy's like, you know what you did, and I'm like. I'm sorry, man. Like I was trying to sneak into the section, but I didn't even say it. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you know what you did. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, my bad, bro. I won't go to the VIP section. I'll go back to my little cuck section where I paid for my $500 ticket. And he's like, no, he's like, you stole that shirt. And I was wearing like a Tony Robbins shirt. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? And it was because I changed shirts and Taylor blocked me as I was changing shirts after I purchased it. So it looked like I was just putting a shirt on at the merch area that I stole because Taylor was like blocking. I didn't ask Taylor to do this, but he did it. And it made it look like I was stealing the shirt. And then we went to the table, the merch table, and we'd explained to them. And they were like, yeah, he just purchased it. And then
Imagine if they forgot and were like, no, he didn't buy anything.
Yeah, I think I might have had the receipt though. I think I probably threw it away. But he was like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I don't give a shit if you sneak into VIP. He's like, I don't care about that. And so we still snuck into VIP anyway.
He felt bad. Well done.
Dude, that guy was not joking around, man. He was like,
you meet some really interesting people at those. And again, like you know, I was in the business mastery one, and you know, we did like affirmations, like, you know, it was like, this year I want to make this much money and da da da. And I went around. There's one woman I went to, and she was like, this year I want to go from 420 to $480 million. I was like,
wow. I feel like shit now.
Yeah, it's like next level. But again, like, you know, bring it back to Miami Sellers Conference, like there are layers to the game. And what, again, I come back to like what I thought about, like, I just want to meet people who are doing stuff I didn't even know was possible. Because when I first started OA, to do 7 figures on OA was like impossible. Now everyone does 7 figures. It's just like normal. It's like the thing. I'm not saying if anyone who's not doing 7 figures, like, you know, massive respect for where you are, but like a lot more people are doing it now. Why? Because knowledge is being shared, and they're being shared in events like, you know, Miami Sellers Conference. And I think it's really important to do that networking. And like we've seen it, you know, meeting interesting people in Tony Robbins, meeting people in Miami Sellers Conference, just, you know, it just levels you up. And it also it expands your horizon. Like you said it, I did not think there'd be people who'd want go-to lister. And now look at you, you know, like a world-leading, you know, software supporting people in their businesses. And I think it's incredible. And all it is about opening up your mind to what is the opportunity. And by the way, like we now talk about 7 figures, soon it'll be like 8 figures. Like, have you done 8 figures yet? Like, no. But that will happen.
I just hit 9 with my no, just kidding.
Amazon lists a 9-figure seller now. They have that in their bio. I think they've reached 9 million in lifetime sales. Wow. So we got a 9-figure speaker coming to Miami this year.
Wait, 9 million is not 9 figures though. That would be
9 figures. So 100 million. Is that 100 million? 100 million.
Yeah. 100 million. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah, I've met 2 people who do over 100 million in annual sales on Amazon, which is like incredible. But again, you got to meet the people. You got to go network. But they don't like it. It's so fascinating. But again, it just expands your horizon. It really does.
100%. Network. Well, we'll see you in Miami, brother. We'll link all your socials below. Thanks so much for coming on the pod, man.
Thank you so much.
MiamiSellersConference.com. Go get your tickets and view the whole speaker lineup and prices and all that there. Much love.